Don't cry now, Sloan. You'll need those tears when I take your pride and half of your empire. Those words echoed through the marble halls of the Ashford estate like a death sentence. Sloan Ashford, billionaire, self-made queen of California's tech industry, stood frozen in her silk robe, mascara streaking down her face as her husband of 7 years walked toward the door with his suitcase packed. He didn't look back. He didn't need to. He already believed he'd won. But here's what nobody knew that night. Not even him. Sloan Ashford didn't build a billion-dollar empire by being stupid. And the man who thought he could destroy her? He was about to learn the hardest lesson of his life. Before we dive in, smash that like button if you've ever trusted someone who didn't deserve it. Drop a comment telling me. Have you ever been betrayed by someone you thought had your back? And subscribe because this story is about to get wild. But to understand how it all fell apart, we need to go back. Back to when Sloan actually believed in forever. Sloan Ashford wasn't born into money. She clawed her way up from a tiny apartment in Fresno, California, where her single mother worked 3 jobs just to keep the lights on. By age 25, Sloan had launched Novatech, a software company that revolutionized cloud security. By 32, she was worth $1.2 billion. And that's when she met Dax Carrington. Dax wasn't like the Silicon Valley sharks she usually dealt with. He was a freelance graphic designer, charming in a laid-back way, with messy brown hair and a smile that made her forget about spreadsheets and board meetings. He didn't care about her money. At least, that's what he said. You're too serious, Sloan. Dax would tease her during late-night dinners at their Malibu beach house. When's the last time you did something just for fun? She'd laugh, lean into his shoulder, and think, this is what I've been missing. Their wedding was intimate. Just 50 guests on a yacht off the coast of Santa Barbara. Sloan wore a custom Vera Wang gown. Dax cried during his vows. Everyone said they were perfect together. Her best friend, Ripley Monroe, wasn't so sure. I don't trust him, Ripley whispered during the reception, sipping champagne while watching Dax charm a group of investors. Ripley had been Sloan's ride or die since college. Sharp-tongued, brutally honest, and fiercely protective. Rip, stop, Sloan said, rolling her eyes. He's not like that. He quit his job 3 months after you started dating. Now he's living in your house, driving your cars, and throwing your money around like it's his birthday every day. He's my husband. What's mine is his. Ripley gave her a look that said you're going to regret this, but she didn't push further. She couldn't. Sloan was in love. And love, as we all know, makes people blind. 3 years into the marriage, cracks started showing. It started small. Dax stopped asking about her day. He'd spend hours locked in his home office, claiming he was working on a passion project. When Sloan tried to peek in, he'd snap the laptop shut and say, "It's a surprise." Then came the nights he didn't come home. Business dinner. He'd text at 11 p.m. or drinks with old friends. Sloan wanted to believe him. She needed to believe him. Because if Dax was lying, then what did that make her? A fool? One evening in late October, Sloan came home early from a board meeting in San Francisco. The house was quiet. Too quiet. She walked upstairs, her heels clicking against the hardwood, and froze outside the bedroom door. A woman's laughter. Low, intimate. Sloan's hand trembled as she pushed the door open. Dax was on the bed, shirtless. Phone pressed his ear. He looked up, startled. "Babe, I didn't hear you come in. Who were you talking to?" "Client. Just closing a deal." "At 6 p.m.? In our bedroom?" He stood, slipping his phone into his pocket. "Why are you interrogating me? You don't trust me now." Sloan felt her throat tighten. I feel like you're hiding something." Dax walked over, cupped her face, and kissed her forehead. "Sloan, you're paranoid. You're working too hard. Maybe take a vacation. I'm here. I'm not going anywhere." She wanted to believe him. God, she wanted to. But when he left the room, Sloan noticed something on the nightstand. A receipt from a luxury hotel in Beverly Hills. Dated 3 days ago. She picked it up, hand shaking. Presidential suite. 2 guests. For $1,500. Sloan didn't sleep that night. 2 weeks later, Sloan hired a private investigator named Colton Webb. Colton was ex-FBI, quiet, thorough, and expensive. Within 72 hours, he delivered a folder so thick it felt like a weapon. Photos, text messages, bank statements. Dax wasn't just cheating. He'd been cheating for over a year, with multiple women. One of them, a 24-year-old influencer named Bryn Hayes, was pregnant, but that wasn't the worst part. The worst part was a plan. Colton had uncovered emails between Dax and a lawyer. They were plotting to file for divorce, claimed Sloan was mentally unstable, and argued that Dax deserved half of Novatech's assets because he'd been instrumental in its success. "He's been setting you up, Mrs. Ashford," Colton said quietly. "Every argument, every time he called you paranoid, he's been building a case." Sloan stared at the photos. Dax kissing Bryn. Dax laughing in a restaurant with another woman. Dax withdrawing $50,000 from their joint account and moving it to a secret offshore fund. She didn't cry. Not then. She just nodded. "Thank you, Colton." That night, Sloan waited in the living room. When Dax came home at midnight, smelling like perfume and lies, she didn't yell. She didn't scream. She just said, "We need to talk." Dax sat down, looking annoyed. "Sloan, it's late. Can this wait?" She slid the folder across the coffee table. He opened it. His face went pale. "Where did you get this?" "Does it matter?" He stood, running a hand through his hair. "Sloan, listen." "No, you listen." Her voice was ice. "You've been cheating on me. For a year, you got another woman pregnant, and you've been plotting to steal my company." "It's not like that." "Then what is it like, Dax?" "Explain it to me." He laughed. Actually laughed. "You really thought I married you for love?" Sloan felt her chest crack open. "You were a paycheck, Sloan. A means to an end. I played the part. I smiled. I kissed you. I told you I loved you. And you bought every word." Tears blurred her vision. "How could you?" Dax leaned in, his voice cold. "Don't cry now, Sloan. You'll need those tears when I take your pride and half of your empire." He grabbed his suitcase, already packed, already planned, and walked out. Sloan sat there, alone, in the house she'd built, shaking. But here's the thing about Sloan Ashford. She didn't cry for long. Because while Dax thought he'd won, he'd made one fatal mistake. He underestimated her. 48 hours after Dax walked out, Sloan Ashford sat in her lawyer's office. Not just any lawyer. Marin Huxley, the toughest divorce attorney in California. Marin had a reputation for crushing cheating spouses and walking away with everything. "Tell me you have something," Marin said, flipping through Colton's file. Sloan smiled. It wasn't warm. It was the smile of a woman who'd spent the last 2 days plotting revenge. "I have more than something. I have everything." Here's what Dax didn't know. Sloan had been suspicious for months. Long before she hired Colton. Long before she found the hotel receipt. She'd been watching, waiting, gathering evidence. Every joint account, monitored. Every company asset, protected under an ironclad prenuptial agreement that Dax never read carefully. Every lie he told, recorded. Sloan had been 3 steps ahead the entire time. "He thinks he's getting half of Novatech," Sloan said. "But Novatech isn't in my name anymore." Marin looked up, intrigued. "Explain." 2 years ago, I transferred 80% of Novatech's shares into a trust. The beneficiaries? My mother, my niece, and a charitable foundation I set up. Dax has no claim to any of it. Marin grinned. "You sneaky genius." "And there's more." Colton found proof that Dax embezzled $200,000 from our joint account and funneled it into his girlfriend's lifestyle brand. "That's fraud. That's theft. And I'm pressing charges." Marin leaned back in her chair. "Sloan, by the time we're done with him, he won't just lose the divorce. He'll lose his freedom." 1 week later, Dax showed up to his lawyer's office. Cocky as ever, he was ready to negotiate, ready to take his half, ready to walk away rich. Instead, he got served with a lawsuit, fraud, embezzlement, adultery, and a restraining order. His lawyer, a slick guy named Porter Vance, looked at the paperwork and went white. "Dax, did you take money from your joint account?" "It's our money. I'm allowed." "Not if you moved it without her knowledge." Not if you use it for personal gain. That's theft. Dax laughed, though it sounded hollow. She can't prove anything. Porter slid another document across the table. She has bank statements, transaction records, photos of you with Bryn Hayes, receipts for the apartment you rented her, texts where you called Sloan a stupid, trusting idiot. Dax's smile vanished. She's not asking for half, Dax. She's taking everything. And she's sending you to court for fraud. The divorce hearing was brutal. Sloan sat at the plaintiff's table, calm and composed in a navy Armani suit. Dax sat across from her, sweating, his cheap suit wrinkled. Marin Huxley tore him apart piece by piece. Mr. Carrington, is it true you quit your job 3 months after marrying Miss Ashford? I was pursuing other opportunities. Living off her income? We were married. It's normal. Is it normal to withdraw $200,000 and give it to your mistress? The courtroom gasped. Dax stammered. I didn't. Marin pulled out the bank records, the photos, the texts, everything. The judge, a no-nonsense woman named Honorable Yell Cho, looked disgusted. Mr. Carrington, you defrauded your wife, committed adultery, and attempted to steal her assets. Do you have anything to say? Dax looked at Sloan, desperate. Sloan, please. We can work this out. I made mistakes, but... Sloan finally spoke. Her voice was calm, steady, devastating. You told me I'd need my tears when you took my pride and half my empire. But here's the thing, Dax. You never had the power to take anything from me. I built this empire. I protected it. And you were just a man who thought he was smarter than he actually was. The judge slammed her gavel. Divorce granted. All assets remain with Ms. Ashford. Mr. Carrington is ordered to repay $200,000 plus damages. Case closed. Dax sat there, shattered. But Sloan wasn't done. 2 months later, Dax's life collapsed completely. Bryn Hayes, the pregnant influencer, she posted a viral video exposing Dax as a liar and a fraud. Turns out, she wasn't the only woman he'd scammed. There were 3 others, all influencers, all promised love and money, all left broke and heartbroken. The video got 10 million views in 24 hours. Dax became a meme, a cautionary tale. The man who tried to destroy a billionaire and lost everything. His reputation? Ruined. His bank account? Empty. His freedom? Barely holding on, thanks to the fraud charges. Meanwhile, Sloan's company hit record profits. She donated $50 million to women's shelters and launched a foundation to help women escape abusive relationships. Ripley showed up at Sloan's office one afternoon with champagne. You did it, Ripley said, pouring 2 glasses. You destroyed him. Sloan smiled, but it was bittersweet. I didn't destroy him. He destroyed himself. I just refused to go down with him. 6 months after the divorce, Sloan ran into Dax at a coffee shop in Santa Monica. He looked terrible, unshaven, hollow-eyed, broken. Sloan, he said quietly, can we talk? She could have walked away. She should have walked away. But she stopped. What do you want, Dax? I'm sorry for everything. I was stupid. I thought I could have it all. And I lost everything. Sloan looked at him for a long moment. You didn't lose everything, Dax. You never had it to begin with. You had me, and I would have given you the world. But you chose greed over love. And now you're exactly where you deserve to be. She walked away, leaving him standing there, alone. A year later, Sloan stood on stage at a tech conference in New York City, giving the keynote speech. They told me I'd lose everything, she said to the crowd of thousands. That I'd be broken, that I'd never recover. But here's what I learned. You can't break a woman who's already survived worse. You can't steal from someone who's already built their empire from nothing. And you sure as hell can't take pride from someone who never needed your validation in the first place. The crowd erupted in applause. Sloan smiled. She was free. So here's my question for you. Have you ever had to start over after someone betrayed you? Drop your story in the comments. Hit that like button if this story moved you. And subscribe because we're just getting started. Trust me, you don't want to miss what's coming next. The end.